Premium brand is a component of many things. We have around 5,000 customers that choose the 3M over. The successful of our brand is good work of team. 2018 we have concentrated our activity on the next level. The attention that we have on the prints and embroidering that we do on our apparel, to be able to keep 100% production in Italy. This, I think, is a mix that creates the successful of the brand. My goal is never stop innovation.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Lusail International Circuit in Qatar for the 5th round of Season 2 of the EEC European Endurance Championship. My name is Edward Hunter, and alongside me, as always, is my faithful co-commentator Daniele Brambilla, as well as Mariano Callo and Louis Gaspar in the race and broadcast direction roles, respectively. There is some interesting information about the Lusail International Circuit there. Second time's the charm, as our brilliant overlay gives you the lowdown then, as qualifying has finished in the background, and we're getting ready for the race, Daniele, and it could well be in both Division 1 and Division 2 because they've combined the grids together, especially in Division 1 for Cristian Marghera. This could be a great opportunity to wrap up the title race one round early.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Marghera has been dominating the season, so just one more.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a maximum score so far of, I think it's, he's scored 120 points out of 100, possible 120 so far. So, yeah, he's not really let any opportunities slip between his fingers. And Michele Rocon, 23 points behind, is the only one that could stop him today. But, yeah, Rocon has certainly struggled to do that so far, to match his former teammate then. We also have in Division 1 GD3 Abel Sequeira leading on 107 points from Salvatore Zitello in second. So that gap is about 13 points. So not quite as big, but still Abel Sequeira is really... Silverstone has been his only kind of difficult round so far this season when he got that drive-through penalty near the end for tapping around Simone Robiti. And then meanwhile, we got Division 2 where Bortolin leads Bruschi by 11 points in hypercar. But here is your overall grid then. Cristian Marghera, as expected, on pole position with Michele Rocon alongside him. Crucial that Rocon keeps the fight going as long as possible. Then row 2 is Nello Pastorino. Great to see him returning with Francesco Bruschi, our Division 2 leader, in 4th. So 2 Cadillacs on the second row. Then it's 2 more Cadillacs, Federico Suave and Mike Bell for Smile Power in 6th place. You can just see him flashing his lights in the background there in the number 6. Paolo Penimpede, he lines up P7 in the BMW after losing out on that podium at Silverstone. Bortolin will be...
No time for both.
Yeah, so there must have been a difficult end to the session there. They must have arrived quite late. Nico Viani takes pole in GD3 from Alessandro Riccardiello, our winner last time out at Silverstone. Abel Sequeira third, so our top 3 in the championship, all in the first 3 positions. Then it is Simone Robiti 4th, looking for revenge on Abel Sequeira, isn't he, after being tapped around at the previous event. Luca Palumbo, he lines up 5th. Alongside him on the 3rd row will be Luca D'Amico in the BMW. Row 4, Salvatore Zitello, second in Division 1. He has got Manuel Norris for company in another BMW. Stefano Dinardo lines up 9th on row 5 in his Aston Martin with Frank van Ginneken for company. Apparently he's in a Mercedes/BMW there. Not sure what the logo was telling us there. Nicola Pagani and Marco Lodi Rosini for Carloni Racing make up row 6. Then on row 7 it's Andrea Gandosi with Armando Ortenzi, keeping him for close company in 14th. Behind them, we have got Lucrezia Milanese and Katrina Edmonds from the Symphony Sports Pink squad. Eugenio Di Tullio lines up 17th with Salvatore Pastore in 18th. Ilaria Finn is 19th. And Eleonora Garbaglia makes up the rear of row 10. So there we go then. A couple of new names you'll be excited to see in action for the first time then. But the race about to get underway any moment now. And 75 minutes of action will roar into life immediately. And you can see right there Christian Malguera just rocketing away, but immediately defending the inside as it looks like the Cadillacs are getting very, very close into turn 1. Malguera defends the middle of the road and holds on to that lead. And as Rokon is under attack from Bruschke, who is trying to get through into P2 in the Cadillac. He's held off Pastore, though. Meanwhile, Vianney has held off Sequeira for the lead in GD3. So no big position changes in the top 4, though. Having said that, Zitello and Riccardiello are squabbling away over 4th position. But yeah, Malguera and Rokon breaking away from the rest of the pack. So Bruschi very much the cork in the bottle, holding back the rest of the hypercar field. As look at how closely packed and densely packed they're getting. As look like the Lexus there briefly tapped the back of one of the BMWs, but no harm done. Manuel Norris and Riccardiello still side by side. Then as they go into turn 10, the BMW was absolutely dive bombing them from way too far back there.
What is going on? Another crazy hectic start from GT3s. Yeah, I mean, I don't think hypercars will feel betrayed if we just stick around a little bit longer with GT3s, because it's all happening right now.
Yeah, I think not many people are going to bet against Malguera sealing that title today. He's 23 points ahead. After today, there'll be only 25 points remaining, so he really only needs to beat Rokon by about 2 points. At the moment, he'd be beating him by 5, difference between first and second at the moment then, as Mattia Bortolin is all over the back of Francesco Bruschi. Is it Bruschi or Bruschke? Because I got told off by Mariano at the end of the previous event then. But either way, Francesco going very, very wide at turn 16, the final corner. And Bortolin, our Division 2 leader, with Penimpede right behind him, is fancying a run at that 4th position then as we cut back to Abel Sequeira. After a messy round last time out, Sequeira once more back to his best in qualifying. And Vianney only about 8 tenths to the good. But yeah, Simone Rabiti is very, very keen to get some street justice, as we keep saying, Daniele, on Abel Sequeira after what happened last time out.
Well, we call it street justice. You also call it desert justice. I guess this is both, right? Although this track is very far away from the nearest track, from the nearest city, which is technically Lusail.
There we go. Well, look like Penimpede was gearing up for a move on Bortolin there into turn 10 as we cut back to Palumbo. The two Lexus cars, Palumbo and Rabiti, fighting over P3, and Penimpede looking for his opening there. Was very unlucky to get the drive-through that cost him the podium. There's Manuel Norris is desperately trying to get ahead of Riccardiello, our winner from last time out. And Riccardiello leaves the door open into turn 10. But again, it does look like Norris has to wait patiently for a better opportunity there, as Riccardiello still within 9 tenths of Zitello. It's man second in the points, of course. As Manuel Norris, the BMW, you would think his best opportunity is get a good run out the final corner and then try and line up a move into turn 1. But as we saw in the real-life Formula 1 race, this is a tricky circuit to overtake on. You've really got to set it up quite a long way in advance here.
Yeah, well, you say that, but in one lap, we've already seen more overtakes than the whole GP.
It's not fair when we got so many different kinds of cars, though. Whereas in F1, there's a little bit less variation between your GT3 cars, for example.
Just a lesser motorsport. That's the nature of it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Talking about the BMW again, as always, we keep on talking about how fast it is in Australia. I think the best option, of course, for all the BMWs, especially Zitello, which will be looking to gain positions, is on the straight, 100%.
You can see here Bortolin really being held up by Bruschi in front of him as Bruschi goes a little bit wide, coming through 12, 13, and 14. This could be very, very tight. Bortolin is through, but look at this. Penimpede is trying to go around the outside of Bruschi as well, and the Cadillac loses 2 positions in quick succession as Penimpede briefly leaves the circuit onto the runoff there, but I think he just about had the move done and had to sort of extend the corner to make sure he didn't hit the Cadillac there. So I think Bruschi's not going to be too impressed, though.
Penimpede and Bruschi, they had a really nice fight towards the tailing end of the Silverstone round.
It was the final lap, yeah, and Penimpede was literally trying to push Bortolin out the way because his pace was so much better in that final stage.
You could tell that Penimpede was feeling a bit, hard done by Bruschi for sure, because the body language of the BMW driver, which I want to remind you, I used to drive a Ferrari in the first rounds, it definitely looked like that. He really wanted to get some sort of street justice.
Indeed. So there we go, a rundown of how the race has gone so far. You saw there, apart from Vianney, lots of movement in GT3. Secrea, Robidi, Palumbo, I think all gaining places. Zitello, though, falling down to 5th for Virtual Drivers Alliance then, which is not what he would want at all, as Ricciardiello and Norris continuing to give him trouble. There's also a close battle for P8 going on behind D'Amico, holding back Dinardo, Pagani, and Giandosi then. So always Pagani, Giandosi, and the Tamelli ERTs always seem to be right together on track, just outside the top 10, don't they? So they seem to have kind of settled into that rhythm no matter what track we show up at. Mike Bell, by the way, has had a very difficult start to his race in Hypercar, falling to 8th and last behind Federico Suave. So Mike Bell, who's yet to get a finish on the board, if I'm not mistaken, he will be quite desperate to change that here in Qatar.
Yeah, I also remember that Sequeira is also in the Tamelli MCM.
He is, yeah, sir. I forgot about that.
So yeah, I think he's just either overdriving the car, overperforming, I should say, or maybe Pagani and Giandosi are struggling a little bit more.
I think, yeah, probably one or the other is fair to say, but you'd rather have one driver that's doing very, very well and the other two that can maybe get up to speed. As we see, Will Snowden is watching. He says, let's see if this race will be a good watch. You need 100 kilograms plus of ballast for Malgera. I bet Michele Rocco will be wishing that was the case, certainly. But yeah, Dora Esports will be loving this. Oh, well, knowing Malgera, it still might not be enough, considering he beat Rocon by, was it 42, 43 seconds, wasn't it, at the end of Silverstone? So
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, certainly. I would be surprised, given that there's a less variable weather here in the desert in the Middle East. It's probably going to be dry to the end. I think Malgera probably might win by about 20 seconds, given the rate he's going at the moment. But yeah, we're nearly 7-8 minutes in, and the gap nearly 3 seconds already. And in fact, Vianney has been streaking away from Sequeira as well, 2.3 seconds, the current gap there. So everybody starting to get in a bit of a rhythm here, starting to settle in, because this is quite a tough circuit on tyres, even without Pirellis that can only do 25 laps or so before breaking down. These particular Michelins and Dunlops, I think, in both classes respectively, as Robidi gets very wide on the curb through 14 and now into 15, as he's trying to put the pressure then on Abel Sequeira here. And what can the Spaniard do to keep the Italian at bay here? Because Robidi in the Lexus just seems very, very fired up in his opening phase of the race, but he's also dragging Palumbo with him too. So Abel Sequeira is defending very, very well from two very racy looking Lexus cars.
Fabrizzi doing the, I don't know what I would call it, but it's definitely helping Zitiello with this. If he can actually put some pressure on Sequeira, the championship would still be on. I mean, it's still on, but technically the fight can be made a little bit easier for Zitiello.
Yeah, indeed. But Zitiello preferably would need to be as close to, if not ahead, of Abel Sequeira as possible in order to breach that 13-point gap in the championship.
The gap of 2.5 seconds doesn't really help. He should probably try and close that gap.
Yeah, I think Zitiello not having a great first time, being sort of crowded out, really went against him there, as we see Abel Sequeira going a little bit wide through 9 and into turn 10 there. As you can tell, the pressure's starting to be applied from those, but that might have actually been turn 6, sorry, as they go into turn 7. and 8, the sort of sweeping S section there in Sector 2. As you can see, Vianney in the Aston is just getting more and more comfortable. This has reminded me a lot of Bahrain so far, because Vianney also took pole there and sort of was quite strong in the first stint too, although I think it was Palumbo that was the main threat to him, especially in the end of that particular race. So yeah, Vianney seems a little bit more at home here in Qatar, and it'll be fascinating to see in terms of the fuel strategy, of course, what they're all planning at this phase, because it could be that a couple of drivers like Vianney and Sequeira will try and extend a bit further, and that's why Sequeira has been letting Vianney build that gap and has been having to defend from the Lexus cars behind, because he is trying to extend his stint so that he can do a shorter stop later on, which tends to be the way to go in Qatar. Whereas Vianney is just making hay. Oh, look at this, up the inside goes Ricciardiello in to P5 past Zitello there. So Zitello very much left the door open at the final corner there, and Alessandro Ricciardiello now forces Palumbo to get no, it's Zitello, sorry, that forces a Ricciardiello to get defensive then into turn 1. A little bit of contact as around the outside comes Zitello, but that could open the door for Manuel Norris if he's not careful here. So the Virtual Drivers Alliance driver being shuffled back rather than going forward in this race. And look, the gap opens up the inside into turn 2. And Manuel Norris slots through into P6 then. So Zitello down to P7. So that his title hopes are hanging by a bit of a thread at this point.
It's all going wrong here for Zitello. First a dive from Ricciardiello, and now Norris capitalizing on a bit of I think Zitello just lost focus a little bit. Didn't expect the other BMW driver to send it. But there you go. You always need to be alerted. And sorry, but let me say this. Talking about strategies is my job. So,
okay.
learn your place.
All right, apologies for that then. I didn't realize I was stepping on your toes. But yeah, nonetheless, you can see Margera in the background starting to lap the GD3 field, catching up to the GD3 leaders, in fact. The good news for Salvatore Zitello is at least that Ricciardiello is the leader of Division 2. So not an immediate threat, but sadly Manuel Norris is in Division 2, so definitely taking points off him in that respect then. So it's just one of those things, another thing, like you say, that he really didn't need, where he loses one position, it skyrockets, snowballs out of control effectively. Margera gets very wide on the curb then, as he desperately tries to lap the GD3s as quick as possible. He just wants to build a big lead to Rokon, hit the Simfrim driver hard and early with a huge gap that sort of breaks his spirit and his morale, essentially. That seems to be Margera's strategy at this phase.
Margera's driving a Ferrari pickup with the way he's cutting across the curbs.
Yeah, the suspension definitely set up to deal with that, or Margera just hoping that his talent will keep the car on the tarmac and not filtering off into the gravel trap. But yeah, I mean, nonetheless,
for sure, sending up the car a little bit higher on the heights can help. Obviously, you know, there's always a downside to that because the car sits so tall from the ground. Also, the downforce is not as much, so you basically have to trade off.
Yeah, there we go. And speaking of which, there was who's having to thread the needle between Rabiti and Sequeira, which, as we've seen, is a gap that can close very, very quickly, especially when they're fighting for position. Rabiti still kind of keep the pressure on Abel Sequeira in the Timeli MC Motorsport car. And again, he can almost reach out and kiss that rear bumper, can't he? But you don't want to make a move at the wrong moment, because that could just open the door for Luca Palumbo, who is hovering very, very menacingly indeed behind the both of them. Now Michele Rokon comes through to get past all of them. Desperately can't afford to lose time to Margera. Up the inside of one Lexus, but he has to brake to avoid hitting the back of Rabiti there. So the two Simfrim sister teammates there effectively avoiding a bit of a disaster there. So good awareness from Michele Rokon not to just steam up the inside and hope Rabiti would see him into turn 10 there.
That would have been an awkward Christmas dinner there.
Do you think Simfrim have a big Christmas dinner where they invite everyone around?
I know for sure.
Okay. Have you been there?
I don't really have it on Christmas, but
they
definitely have a meetup. Yeah. Oh, we had a
awesome.
yellow flag flash for a brief second, but then it went away.
Yeah, somebody must have gone wide then. And look at this, Sequeira continuing to just back Rabiti and Palumbo up, and Vianney is absolutely the one that is taking advantage of this at the moment. And you can tell Simone Rabiti feeling a bit frustrated here because he knows that he needs to clear Sequeira quickly because he's got so much pace that he could potentially use to close in on that Aston Martin for the lead. But at the moment, he is sort of trapped here, and he knows if he goes for a too risky a move, he's just going to open a door for Palumbo here. So he's got to really measure himself and find a decent opportunity here. But Sequeira is not giving him one. He's defending absolutely excellently. And if anything, Palumbo is the one giving him trouble as round the outside of them both goes Pastore.
The strength of the Lexus for sure, not being able, it is a downside for sure in the opening phases because the car struggles to get the tires up to temp. But then this also turns into a very big advantage because the tires can actually last much longer. In fact, way too long, I'd say, than some of the other cars. And the BMW, we saw it, right? We saw it in the previous race at Silverstone where it was wet and then it turned dry, then it went wet again. And then that was when Sequeira completely burned his tire. So we expect, obviously this is not wet, but we expect to see something along the same lines, in my opinion.
Yeah, certainly the BMW has been known to chew through its tires if not used correctly then. So it makes sense for Sequeira, as you say, to pace himself at this phase as we cut back to Bruschi, who's kept pace with Penimpede since losing that position. So Francesco Bruschi really, really keen to get to displace that BMW in the fight for fifth. And this traffic ahead might be the opportunity that he needs here as they clear the BMW M3 GT3s. And Bruschi, you can tell in that Cadillac, that has been one of the better cars in this phase of the game. The two Daytona prototypes pretty evenly matched then as Abel Sequeira gets a little distracted there. Rabidi hits the rear of him into turn 16, the final corner on the circuit then as we go below the 1 hour remaining mark. So we are 16 minutes in almost. And Rabiti is really starting to not pull his punches anymore. You can see the virtual energy remaining. Not sure how factual that is, but they're all pretty similar at the front in GT3, 69 and 68% respectively. Sequeira, if anything, has used slightly more in his defense here of that second position.
Did you, I don't know, like, did you see how the BMW of Sequeira was all over the curb into T1 in the braking zone, and the two Lexus cars were just probably unable to do that? And I think it's also because of the the suspension geometry of the car and the innate differences between the two cars.
There we go. To number 4, I think that's the Smile Power Cadillac of Bell that's just going through around the outside, and Sequeira nearly hits him as well. And you can see behind Federico Suave has just been overtaken by Mike Bell in recent history then. So Bell up to P7 despite a tough start to the race, now starting to fight back. So brilliant to see the Englishman starting to get on top of these hypercars then, as you can see Rabidi very late on the brakes again. As you say, that's sort of the advantage of the Lexus. It's a little bit more predictable in the braking zone, whereas the BMW, you really have got to drive it by the seat of its pants, haven't you, in order to get the lap time out of it. And you can see Abelsko struggling to get it turned into turn 12 there. And Rabiti, by contrast, looking that a little bit more planted. But again, he needs to make sure he's not catching the BMW too early here then as they come towards turn 15. There's a small gap up the inside. Rabiti goes for it. Sequeira sees him in time. And through goes the Italian into P2 there. So he set that up brilliantly. Oh, and here comes Palumbo from out of nowhere. He absolutely dive-bombed a switch right to the inside. Caught Abel Sequeira absolutely napping of his pants down there. And he's up onto the podium now. So there's a yellow flag somewhere out on track behind them.
Beautiful move by Rabizzi. Super opportunistic there. You could tell, well, now Abel is still trying to go around the outside here into turn 1 of Palumbo. Not really giving up yet. But yeah, he has to yield at this point. I think because now the two Lexus cars just too much more planted. You said it, right? They went into the third sector, and you could see how the BMW was always plowing. I think he carried more speed, Sequeira, through the fast right-handers, but that actually turned into being slow on the outside. On the exit, which is what they usually tell you not to do while driving a fast car. And
look at Suave all over the place in front of Mike Bell, who's clearly got back in front of him in the first sector there. but he's almost struggling to keep it pointed in a straight line. We did see, I think before we started the broadcast, I saw Suave had a big spin, and again, he nearly spins it into turn 10, just about keeps it, recovers it. But you could tell Mike Bell in the Cadillac, not quite as, I think it's the thing, the Ferrari...
On top of it?
Is the faster car, but Suave is struggling to sort of get the speed out of it without sliding the rear tires out. And Mike Bell being a bit more cautious, although it was until that moment as he dipped it into the gravel there. Has a huge moment then as we now watch Katrina Edmonds, who has just joined the Symphony Esports Pink team. They had a big announcement, I think it was yesterday or earlier today, that she was joining the squad then. She's all over the back of Armando Atenzo. So it's good to see the British driver in her first appearance in EEC fighting one of Virtual Drivers Alliance's the best that they can bring, I guess, in the form of Hortensi to this particular round then. And she's really kept Hortensi very, very honest in this fight for P14 indeed. And yeah, certainly she's comfortably the highest up of the Symphony Esports Pink drivers in this race, all of them in Lexus cars, of course. So this is an encouraging start for Katrina. And will she prove to be a 9 lives cat, I imagine? And we're going to see plenty more of her giving a bit of trouble to some of the more established runners, I expect.
Yeah, absolutely. Very impressive. I mean, usually we're used to seeing Symphony Esports Pink cars, being a little bit far down the grid, let's say. She's doing a really good job, and now she's all over the back of Hortensi, so it's all on.
Yeah, and this is sort of a night that seems to be favoring the Lexus cars so far. The problem for Simone Rabidi is that Vianney has pulled that 7-second gap at the moment. He's almost a Malguera level dominance of this race so far, but it remains to be seen.
Exactly
if,
almost
in terms of time, yes.
Back. Yeah.
But we don't know if Vianney's maybe used a little bit more fuel. To do that is Penney lay on the brakes as he tries to pass Borderlin for P4. So Borderlin's really struggled the last couple of laps, and you saw he just misjudged it into the final corner because he tapped the back of the Ferrari. The pink Ferrari, must be said, into the final corner. And but that will excite Brewski, who's now starting to catch back up to the pair of them there. So we have a good strategic little fight for P4 here. And yeah, Borderlin very, very nearly got taken out by Penney.
I talked to Penney before the race. And I mean, I cannot repeat what he said because in perfect Penney style, most of what he says cannot be repeated live. But he just said he doesn't like the track. Let's just say that. So I think he's struggling with the BMW itself. Yeah, he's struggling sitting behind Bortolin, and he's also struggling driving this less than ideal track, let's say.
Yeah, certainly he doesn't seem to enjoy it quite as much as he did Silverstone, although luckily no track limits or warnings from, I think, so far in this race.
Look who's back though.
Well, look, Sequeira then has started to rally a little bit and is using a bit of slipstream from the back of Palumbo to sort of stay in this podium fight here. So Abel Sequeira, I think, knows his fight really is, as he goes a little bit deep into 2 there, he's more worried about Ricciardiello behind him and potentially losing further ground. So this is more damage limitation for him. He's still ahead of his main championship rival, Zitello, who's down in P7 then. So Zitello, the only good news for him in this race is that Sequeira also lost 2 positions in quick succession, much like he did then. So both of them are sort of qualified their BMWs a bit further up than their race pace would allow them to stay. As now we see Frank van Ginneken in the middle of a huge scrap with the 2 Termelli ERTs of Gandosi and Pagani. So Van Ginneken splitting the pair of them, the 63 Mercedes AMG GD3. As now see Malguera about to put a second lap on all of them.
Yeah, unfortunately this car, which is supposed to be silver and a little bit metallic, but under the floodlights because of the game, it doesn't quite look like that. It's a bit of a more muted white, but yeah, very nice car. Beautiful sound as well. Love this car. I used to be a bit of a Mercedes fanboy back in the days. Now I've sort of shifted boats a little bit. But yeah, Frank Ginneken, I think this is the best result so far for him, right? I mean, okay, maybe in Silverstone he was a little higher up, but there was also way fewer competitors as well.
Well, we also saw Canton and Evan Mercedes drop out, didn't he?
True,
true. So yeah, it can sometimes happen. But yeah, good to see Van Ginneken, who has always sort of been in and around the top 10, isn't he? Still fighting away with some quite high-quality drivers, the likes of Gandosi, who has tasted victory before in the endurance format with Tamela Yati. Now we cut back to Zitello, who is desperate to get back ahead of the similar BMW of Manuel Norris. So this is going to have crucial implications in the championship. You can see Malguera rapidly catching the pair of them right as Zitello is planning his move. So this is worrying times for Christian Malguera. Then needs to make sure he plays it safe. He's going to go right around the outside of both of them at the earliest opportunity and nearly gets tapped into the gravel by Manuel Norris and has to sort of muscle his way through there. So Christian, I think, very much in his desperation not to get caught up in it, sort of found Manuel Norris nearly shutting the door there.
I tell you what, this could be actually protested by Norris. I think, like, I don't know what kind of advantage you would take from that, but for sure this was a bit of a rough move, and I don't know, it might not be looked at nicely.
Well, certainly if Zitello gets past him because of it, he might have a bit of a bone to pick then. But still plenty of other hypercars closing in on these two. Next up, Rokon, who the gap has been fluctuating a bit as both of them deal with the traffic at different times, but it is still just under 7 seconds then. So Rokon, actually getting quite badly held up by Norris there through turn 9 as they go into 10. And yeah, you can see in the background, Luca D'Amico is only about 1.6 seconds behind these two, isn't he, in another BMW. So it's 3 BMWs all fighting over P6 here in the race then. Meanwhile, Rabiti not really made any impression on Viviani. Zitello's round and just avoids hitting the barrier there, but the rear absolutely stepping out on the entry to turn 12, and he's lost a couple more positions as a result of that. D'Amico goes through.
I don't know what happened. I think the rear stalled. The something with the downforce stalled. This is a very, the car is loaded very much on the left side at that point, and all it takes is just a little bit of I don't know, maybe being a little bit too abrupt on the steering, or maybe he let go of the throttle when the car was fully loaded. And
the camera angle changed as well right as he spun too, which was slightly disconcerting. But yeah, that was certainly a dramatic moment there as he was trying to follow Norris. And I think, if I just look at a replay from what we saw on stream, yeah, he lost it quite early into the entry of 12, tried to save it and couldn't, as we now see Abel Sequeira losing a position, I think, to Ricciardiello, who's just gotten through into turns 1 and 2 there. So the BMW losing another place.
An extremely weird crash for a GT3, which usually you see them lose the car on the exit, maybe on throttle, maybe in a change of direction. And even then, it's not very common to see a GT3 spin, especially not in a section like that, which would be more... I think it's much easier to spin in a completely, in a car that relies more on downforce, like maybe the hypercar or an F1.
Right, so I'm just trying to work out what the Division 1 classification is in this race then. So I believe Viani, I think, is Division 2. So Rabiti is sort of first. Palumbo is Division 2, along with Ricciardiello. So Sequeira is second. Manuel Norris, I think, would be P3. D'Amico, I think, is Division 2.
Yeah.
Then it would be Zitello in P4, essentially. So at the moment, we are looking at, I think, 25 points for Sequeira. And then it'd be 22 for Norris. What's after 22? 20. Okay, so it'd be a 5-point gain, so the gap would go from 13 points to about 17, 18, with 25 left, 30 left on offer. Actually, I've just realized, isn't it? So with a 23-point gap that Malguera has, he'd need to be 30 points ahead of Rokon, so he needs that. We see Pagani nearly hitting the back of Gandosi. Both of them, I think, have gotten back ahead of Van Ginneken, so I didn't quite see what happened. Van Ginneken's now about 7.8 seconds behind, so clearly he's made a mistake of some sort, or getting held up, and that's dropped him back to 13th then. So yeah, Christian Malguera would gain 5 points, but he needs to be gaining 7 then. So Rokon sort of needs to make a mistake in order for the title battle not to go to the last race, even though Malguera's done a brilliant job today. He's going to all but seal it if he wins this one at the end of today.
First of all, let's not jinx it, because the race is not over yet. But also, yeah, I guess you're right, and it doesn't look possible with Pastorino being 25 seconds off the back of Roccon. So unless he makes a catastrophic mistake, I don't think it's going to happen. And which is actually good. I have to be completely honest with you, because this gives us time to do like a fancy graphics about standings.
Are you trying to give Luis Gaspar more work to do?
No, he knows already. He knows that already.
Well, anyway, here is Stefano Dinardo. You can see Zitello with his worn tyres in front of him. Dinardo, he's another Division 2 driver,
Yeah.
so not actually going to, in terms of Division 1 standings, hurt Zitello. It's not going to hurt him anymore if he passes him, but Zitello certainly is trying to make the best of a bad situation. Here's Dinardo now loses it much earlier, well, later on, I should say, through 13 instead of turn 12. And he luckily gets going again without losing a position. But that will take the pressure off of Salvatore Zitello then, as we see Bortolin defending from Penimpede. Penimpede going to the outside here into turn 1. Bortolin late on the brakes and forces the BMW hybrid V8 to back out there. So Penimpede really trying to throw the kitchen sink at Mattia Bortolin to get into P4 here, but Bortolin is having none of it.
Yeah, all sorts of appliances for your home. I think he's throwing right now, because he's actually throwing the whole car at him because he crashed into him a couple of times. That's a really nice fight here with Paolo sitting, looking at the back of Bortolin, and Bortolin, who was having a really good race in Silverstone and had a hardware issue, I think twice as well in the same race.
Yeah, he was second in Bahrain as well, Bortolin. So yeah,
true,
he certainly
true.
had some good performances so far this season, and indeed is leading Division 2 from Bruschi by 11 points as well. So the only other thing to keep in mind is Division 2 GT3, where Viani, our current race leader, leads Riccardiello by 10 points at the moment, and Riccardiello, of course, is behind Palumbo at the moment, so basically in a third in class essentially. It is nice that I almost wish they were all part of the same championship at this rate, because a lot of the top runners in Division 2 are easily quick enough to be in Division 1, and I think the races so far have sort of proved that. Or, as Penimpede has another look to the inside out of the final corner, but not quite able to make use of it.
We cannot mention that and then just pretend they're all in the same. As Suave, look at this. This is the first time we actually get to see the tires, and Suave is running hearts on front. I assume it's only on one tire, on probably on the left, looking at the direction of the track.
Yeah, if it's a...
Unfortunately, we cannot get both tires, only one per axle. Yeah. That's a limitation of the game.
Look at Penimpede going very wide on the exit of turn 2 there, as the car absolutely wobbles there. Sequeira comes into the pits at half distance, so this is pretty much what we saw in Silverstone, isn't it? Where he decides to split the strategy halfway through, and he's hoping to get the undercut here and gain ground as a consequence then. But again, this could put Sequeira into traffic then for the next 20 minutes or so. The race, we see Mike Bell is caught right back up to Federico Suave again. Suave trying to defend down into turn 4, and doing so successfully as the Smile Power Racing car of Mike Bell's Cadillac not quite able to take advantage. He goes very, very wide on the exit of 5 there, and that's going to give Suave a little bit more breathing space.
Yeah, when I saw Sequeira pitting, I thought maybe, it could be a penalty, could be maybe, I don't know, track limits, or even like a penalty that we didn't really see. But because Pagani, which is his teammate, also pitted, I think it must be just a strategy from the team. And this is the first time we've ever seen this. So usually, the logic would say, when you start, you just want to run the full tank dry, because obviously you basically lose no time for filling the tank up. And then when you pit and you don't have to top up, it obviously takes less time, right? This way, his pit will be longer. This way, his pit will be longer, which is kind of strange. But I think maybe he just wants to either get off these tires, which I doubt, because he probably will want to double them, or maybe he's just fed up with the people he had around and he just wanted to find a pocket of of like a gap in the traffic so that he could just start pushing all the way.
Yeah, meanwhile, this is Armando Attento, who's seen Katrina Edmonds overtake him for what's now P12. So Edmonds is having a really, really fantastic debut then for the Scene from Esports Pink squad, and is starting to make her way up the order. Not far away from Van Ginneken as well.
First time in the tower for the team. They've never managed to be there. And now they popped up there in the bottom, in the 12th place.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, Sequoia Pitting has also enabled that to happen, but still, they are a lot closer to the top 10 than they were at Silverstone then. So yeah, Katrina Edmonds doing, as you say, an absolutely stellar job so far, and has actually got a fair bit more fuel and virtual energy than I think Gandosi ahead of us. I think Van Ginneken has pit, which has put her up to P11 then. Let's look at Suave trying to get back in front of Mike Bell, who it's gone back and forth between the two. Suave, Mike Bell, that previous lap when he was right behind, was going wide into the gravel and over the curb every other corner, it felt like. But whatever he's doing, it seems to have worked for him as Bell back into that P7 that he wanted then. I feel like this is going to run and run and run between the two of them as both of them try and take advantage of the traffic to get a one-up on one another.
So very much off in quali, although we didn't broadcast that. Oh, now he's going to have Vianney helping him out, Bell. Yeah, so very far off in quali. I think he didn't really practice much this track, and Bell probably didn't practice either.
It would surprise me knowing Mike Bell's busy schedule. There's a lot of he's involved in a lot of real life karting, Mike Bell as well in the UK. So yeah, nonetheless, he would be very, very keen. Whoa! Borderline hits one of the GT3s. Oh dear, who was that? That looked like was that Van Ginneken, I think. Oh no, it was Garbaglia. Sorry, it was Eleonoria Garbaglia who's being lapped by Borderline. That has let Penimpede and Bruschi through then. So we just caught the tail end of it then, going through, I think that was turn 1 then. So Garbaglia just, I think, either didn't see him in time or was just in the wrong place at the wrong time then from Borderline's point of view. So two pink cars crashing into each other.
That's true. I thought we had jinxed Katrina for, saying, no, she's having a great race, and then one lap after she got punted off. No, I mean, luckily, I guess, for Edmonds, that was Eleonora Garbaglia, but yeah, very, very. I mean, again, how do you crash in this section? Can only happen with a bit of a misunderstanding. So you think you're in the hypercar, you think, well, the GT3 is not going to send, is not going to turn, and then obviously Borzelin thought that, but Garbaglia thought otherwise. She was like, maybe, this is my corner, I'm entitled to turn in, and they both went into the same corner. I guess that's what happened.
Either way, it's more horrific bad luck for Mattia Bortolin, isn't it? After the misery of Silverstone with the constant wheel failures while he was fighting for the podium. And now that's opened the door for Penimpede and Bruschi to dispute fourth position. Again, a rerun of Silverstone, except instead of fighting for P3, they're fighting for P4 amongst each other. But Penimpede, from his point of view, crucially ahead and the beneficiary of all of this. Meanwhile, GD3, I think Zitello is who is that in the Lexus behind? It's the Carloni Racing, is it? It's
Lodrizzini.
Lodrizzini, yes. Sorry, I was trying to remember what LRI stood for.
Up four since the start. Very nice.
Yeah, so Lodrizzini then doing well to set trouble, although Katrina Edmonds has gained 5, also one place better, of course, although some of that is due to some of the pit stops. Nobody in the top 12, I think, has served their pit stop just yet then. So the likes of Sequeira and Van Ginneken will be interesting to see where they filter out, having decided to pit earlier than the others, but those pitting later will be able to, in theory, do quicker stops. It's just a matter of whether those that pit earlier have been able to pit out of traffic and been able to lap quickly enough to get the undercut that they need, and whether those tyres are still going to be in decent condition when we get to the last phase of the race then, as we ride on board with Nico Vianney in the Aston Martin Vantage, nearly 10 seconds ahead of Rubiti, although in the case of Margera, he absolutely is about 10 seconds ahead of Rocon. So definitely trying to match the Division 1 championship leader is Nico Vianney in hypercar in the GT3 class. As you can see ahead, there's actually some one of the Tamelli T's, I think, that's pit, that Vianney is getting blue flags in front of him. So Vianney should be able to lap him before too long with the pace that he's got.
Yeah, it should be Pagani at this point, I think, because he was the one that pitted. As you can see, Gandossi, P10, same team. Of course, it's not Sequeira, because that would be weird. I think he didn't lose this much. Gandossi is still on track. So, I said there was a team strategy, but Gandossi probably didn't get the memo.
Yeah, certainly. But yeah, he thinks he can get the fuel and tires to last a bit longer and get it to play into his hands, as indeed the vast majority of the GT3 field. Those that potentially have done a bit of racing at Qatar before and know exactly what the preferred strategy is, or the one that tends to work in their favor. I think every other time I've commented on, say, VMS races at Qatar, what usually happens is the winning strategy is those that just pit as late as possible in GT3 tend to be able to get the most out of it then. As we look at Ricciardiello on the back of Palumbo, Manuel Norris 14 seconds in the rearview mirror, so that must be Van Ginniken that they're lapping ahead of him as the only Mercedes in the race, as we see more yellow flags somewhere out on track. So somebody has gotten really stuck out there. I think it was Edmonds. Oh dear, so Katrina Edmonds drops out of P11 then, and she has clearly hit trouble either on her own, or there she is actually back in P13 then. So not too serious, but I think a spin for the Sim for Esports pink driver, and that's a shame. So the curse has finally caught up with her. The commentator's curse. So we shouldn't say anything nice about anybody, as Gandosi now comes into the pits to serve his one and only stop of the race, in theory at least, as we see Mike Bell being trailed by Suave yet again in the background there.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't say anything at all, because it seems whatever we say, it seems to jinx people.
I mean, would Mariano pay us the same if we just did a silent commentary, where we just occasionally breathed or said, ooh, and that's it? Oh, look at this. Bortolin is caught back up to Brewski. I mean, well, I'm not about to break the habit of a lifetime, with all due respect, Daniela. I know you're trying to increase my professionalism to make sure I don't say anything wrong by not saying anything at all. But there we go. It's an interesting way of going about it then. Bortolin really starting to put the pressure on Brewski, and unsurprisingly, the Ferrari has just had a lot more pace than the Cadillac today, and it's Bortolin really recovering from that collision with Garbaglia's GT3. And what can Brewski do here? Because it's sort of the same position he was in at Silverstone, only the problem is Bortolin's caught back up to him a lot earlier than Penimpede did.
Well, what can he do? He can just defend for his life, as he's done so far with Paolo, and he will definitely do the same with Bortolin. Oh, as he runs off a little bit. Let's talk about these runoffs on the exit of some of these fast corners. I think they were put in place, I presume, for F1 to police track limits. But if you ask me, it's just I don't know, it's an invention.
I think it was a MotoGP circuit originally, wasn't it? I feel like...
but they would never have that for MotoGP. I think they removed those gravel traps.
I think you're right. So yeah, certainly a tradition of, I think Austria and Spielberg is another F1 circuit where they modify it to suit the needs. Oh, as you see Brewski going a little bit wide on the exit of turn one there, really feeling the pressure from behind as Bortolin, has to go well off track then, surely not going to be able to complete that move, and yeah, comes out well behind there. So Bortolin has another scary moment, trying to make a move happen, and it's backfired as in comes Manuel Norris. Back then to our three Lexus cars, all Simfring, if I'm not mistaken. So Ribiti, Palumbo, Ricciardiello all fighting over P2, and it's Palumbo that's rapidly being caught by Ricciardiello. Of course, both of these two Division 2 drivers, Ricciardiello second in the championship, trying to limit the damage that Vianney can do to him today. So he needs to pass Palumbo here. Unlikely there'll be any team orders. But you never know here, especially with Van Ginniken essentially a lap down and starting to hold them up here. But he, of course, is pit for more virtual and more fuel and potentially tyres as well, which I think is why he's lost so much time in his stop here, especially having done it so early then. So yeah, Van Ginniken knows if he lets these two through, then basically he might be in a load of trouble. As there we see the Symphony Sports pink cars coming in. Milanese still being serviced, but Edmonds gets her stop out of the way then with 31 minutes left to go. This puts Ilaria Finn into P13 all over the back of, I think, Manuel Norris now.
Yeah, as we get another yellow flag, it'd be great if we could see what's going on, because it's a very long one. So for sure,
Garbaglia's round.
She's missing a tire.
That's right at the apex then. So Garbaglia, for the second race in a row, I think may have crashed out here.
I know, she's fine. Okay, it's just a black thing on the against the black background. Yeah, again, weird spin.
Thankfully, just on her own this time. So no harm, no foul, I guess. So I think Norris has served his pit stop and come out just ahead of Ilaria Finn, which is crucial for him. Sequeira is about 10 seconds up the road in P11. And I think, is Sequeira the leader of those who've stopped so far, if I'm not mistaken?
He is, yeah.
Yeah, because just up the road is, who's DIT? We never talk about that.
Di Tullio.
Tulio, there we go. Must be another new entrant then. It's good to see him just about snuck into the top 10 then. Yeah, Ilaria Finn will be hoping to take advantage of Edmund's spin to be the top sim from Esports Pink. Driver Suave tried to do the Mike Bell line there, going very, very wide through, I think that was turn 9 on the entrance to turn 10 there. Mike Bell has not really had a moment's rest here from the number 47, as there's another yellow flag out there as Ditulo comes into the pits. So potentially, it can't be Ilaria Finn because she's just moved up to P12. So somebody, it's Pen and Pede that's gone off track and through. Go Bruschke and Bortolin. Bortolin who's now back up to P4, but Pen and Pede has had a huge off there in the S's.
Well, how do you end up there? Generally,
not by choice, I'd imagine.
Not by choice, yeah. Unless he was very eager on the throttle and he forgot that he was racing Qatar. Maybe he thought this was Bahrain, but
I think he just hates the circuit so much.
He just hates the circuit, yeah.
Kind of zoned out for a second there. Or maybe he just came upon a duty free at the wrong moment and had to take evasive action, especially if it was Garbaglia spun in front of him. But nonetheless...
I mean, it's not that bad, right?
No, that was a different part of the track, yeah. I think it was it turn 6 that Garbaglia had her spin at. As now we see Suave lining up a move. We see more duty frees getting their pit stop out of the way. Zitello, crucially, so that's going to put Sequeira back in front of him, crucially, in terms of the Division 1 duty free championship standings. But yeah, Suave looking more and more fed up with Mike Bell, I think, as this race goes on, as Bell gets a little bit held up by the Carloni Racing Lexus in front of him. But yeah, Suave getting closer, but every time he gets ahead, he can't really pull clear. Mike Bell has just been absolutely relentless, so neither of these two giving each other any respite in the night here in Qatar then. 28 minutes left to go, and yeah, this could just run and run and run. And we are going to start to run out of fuel tank as Bell goes wide, and to the outside comes Federico Suave, but Bell just gets to the apex in time at turn 6 there. And now all the way up into 7. Again, Suave tries to dive up the inside as they dispense with the BMW, which I think that's not Sequeira, is it? That's one of his teammates, isn't it? In the Tamelli RTs.
No, it's the officially delivered WRT BMW.
Oh! And Mike Bell just avoids another BMW. That's the 31. That was just in front of him, and this could give a small opportunity to Federico Suave, desperate to get back into P7. So the wooden spoon battle here to not finish last in Hypercar has been absolutely excellent here, and a fair play to Mike Bell. He's been able to sustain and fight back from whatever Suave's thrown at him as they both go a little bit cautious into 14, and Suave back up the inside into 15, but now he goes wide off track, and Mike Bell retakes that P7.
Yeah, interesting lines there. For sure.
Some of them are on track as well.
Yeah. I mean, he took all the outside of the corner to basically gain an advantage, which would be a penalty, but then he just so kindly missed the apex into the following corner.
And they're going side by side now again. I think almost this is Suave. Is he trying to go back up the inside into the first corner? It looked a bit like Mike Bell was lifting off there down the start-finish race, but he's going to regret that because that gives Suave the outside line into turn 2. And again, there's a bit more contact. But Mike Bell able to just about defend position. Suave just holds on to the back end of his car. He's got good momentum here, but they are starting to run a bit low on virtual energy here. You can see there Pastore has come into the pits from third position. Now Rokon pits from P2, and a lot of our leaders in GT3 all the way down to Marco Lodi Rosini are starting to dip into the red here. Oh, as Mike Bella's gone wide, I think at turn 6 there, and that's let Suave back through. So a crucial error from the Englishman.
This might be it, you feel this might be it with Suave having more pace. Yeah, being very erratic, but I think if he could just put that pace together, he'll just pull away.
Who's less
Sorry, I
erratic,
have to correct you, but it's not Pastore, but it's Pastorino.
Pastorino, there we go.
Which actually-
Pastorino's out. Well, there we go. And Nello Pastorino.
Well, he's not. He's not. He decided he just wants to be back. I don't know. What happened?
Must have misclicked the return to garage button, or something very strange has happened. But either way, he's going to come out right behind Zitello, I think.
I didn't
in the
even know it was
Virtua
possible.
Zlanska.
I thought you needed to at least disconnect to start from the pits like that.
Well, there we go. That has really compromised Pastorino a bit and cost him quite a bit of time to the leaders there. So Rokon should come out well ahead of him, as Bruschi is going to put another lap, actually, on Nello Pastorino. You're right, and I should know Nello Pastorino because he drove for Satellite Racing for many years. Was an absolutely fantastic driver in ES as well, and in the GD3 team that won the championship, didn't it, quite comfortably in... I forget, was it season 4 or 5? Whichever one was the one before last was the one that they won. But anyway, in ES, as we look at Dinardo, who we've not talked about too much for the DC race now. That's the Birdie Bassett's livery, DC Racing, I think, that I always keep forgetting. But anyway, in comes Riccardiello, Rabiti, D'Amico, and Marco Lodi Rosini then. So Dinardo and Viani, the super savers in the Aston Martin, along with Palumbo, they've been able to get the field to last longer than anybody else there. And now we are starting to see the order reassert itself. Has Hortensi come into the pits? I'm not certain that he has.
No, not yet. Sequeira is, in fact, the first one to have already pitted. Of course, I mean, Ricciardiello, Rabiti, and Lodrizzini.
Yeah, be interested to see where Rabiti comes out relative to Sequeira here. There is Abel Sequeira coming through the final corner. I think Rabiti's just coming out the pits as Malguera also pits from the lead. So Rabiti has held on to what should be a net third place then. Here comes Abel Sequeira down the start finish. So he should be about to... Oh, no, is D'Amico coming out of the pits in his BMW. So he's been able to overcut, I think, Abel Sequeira there. So there we go. Sequeira gets past Lodi Rosini, but not D'Amico. You can see him right in front of him there, as Bortolin is now being serviced as well in the pit. So Bruschi up to P2.
Wow, what a... Well, it's definitely a strategic blunder unless he can pull something off in these 23 minutes. But I think, like, I cannot even sum it correctly. So maybe we can I can ask the graphics to show the standings. So that the standings, so that we can see exactly how far back he is. Cool. Yeah, there you go. He's 77 seconds behind. It's a minute and 17 seconds behind.
Well, Viani is in the pits, though, so as this is happening. But look at this, Sequeira to the outside then, as Viani continues to put fresh tyres on. And look at this, Sequeira trying to go around the outside of Luca D'Amico. The two BMWs wheel to wheel through turns 7, 8, and 9. Sequeira goes round the outside. That was superbly judged, that move, right before Christian Malguera arrives on the scene at full speed. If anything, getting slightly held up. Malguera's come out just in front of Francesco Bruschi as well. So that's crucial for him that he doesn't get held up here as he threads a needle between the two BMWs, and Bruschi flashes his lights wildly. He seems to think that he's actually fighting for the lead as the Cadillac man.
Well, other than me looking like a muppet, I mean, I was completely off because, yes, my my counting was off, but definitely, I mean, the gap is still, what, 30 seconds or something? So it's crazy. He was all over the rear of Palumbo. Now look where he is.
Yeah, and that's the difference between pitting 20 minutes later in the race, essentially, is Riccardiello now serving his pit stop. Or is this his second stop?
If we assume that 50 minutes is something around 40 to 45 seconds, obviously 20 minutes must be at least 17 seconds.
So has Riccardiello come in to serve a drive-through penalty or something? Because I saw he was ahead of Sequeira and had served his stop there. Sequeira nearly gets caught on the curb there as he gets slightly distracted by Michele Rokon arriving on the scene. So Rokon now serving his stop, comes out 11 seconds behind Christian Malguera then. So he's still just in the championship hunt by the skin of his teeth then. But really, we're in a position where Malguera will really only have to finish the final race of the season at where is it again? The final race, is it Spa?
Yeah, and it's actually a longer race. It will be double points, which actually this invalidates what we just said about the championship because we didn't think.
Oh, okay.
I
Well, there we
just
go then.
remember that the final race will be double points. So technically,
Okay, so nothing will be settled tonight. Don't worry,
nothing
ladies
will be
and
settled
gents.
tonight. Yeah, exactly. Also, I've received a notice that, in fact, Pastorino did have a crash, game crash.
Oh, okay.
But
So
nothing,
certainly
but nothing
wasn't a
about a
driver error.
penalty. Nothing about a penalty with Ricciardello.
There we go then. So Nelly Pastorino, luckily he was able to recover so quickly from that game crash. Although having said that, he is back in the pits again. So maybe this is a more terminal issue for him, and that's real massive shame for the Finn because it's cost him what looked like a very, very likely podium finish. It's handed it unlikely back to Bortolin, considering he had his collision with Garbaglia earlier. I don't think he'd expected to be back in this position as he is right now. But meanwhile, here is Katrina Edmonds, having served her stop, is in 14th position and starting to catch Eugenio Di Tullio in front of her. So there's every chance Katrina Edmonds could maybe challenge for that top 12, get back onto the timing board legitimately here with the pace that Lexus has got here, despite the earlier stumble. I'm not sure if it's necessarily a mistake of her own making, but yeah, she definitely had some sort of spin that lost her time. Ortenzi now finally puts his pit stop out the way. We expect Dinardo from the pits. He's been able to run longer than anybody else, quite impressively in the Aston, so that should help in terms of having a quick pit stop in these final 19 minutes or so. But certainly we expect Vianney to quickly reassume the lead from Palumbo, Rubiti, and then Sequeira should be up to a net P4 in this race, having muscled his way past D'Amico.
I'm not going to attempt any counting today. I've already failed miserably.
Okay,
But I think Dinardo, if he pits now, or if he actually can delay the pit by one more lap, he will be, I think, between P6 and P9 even. All in that pack, which would be very, very good strategy. Again, we always see at least one guy, or at least one driver, I should say, in all these races so far, that just decides to do something different, something a little bit more creative, and they just pull it off amazingly.
Yeah, so it's usually the likes of Dinardo, or there was a guy in an Aston. Was it Van Ginneken when he was in the Mustang that tried to do it as well?
No, I don't think Van Ginneken ever was in the Mustang.
Okay, but there was somebody in a Mustang.
It was Vidimari in Monza.
That was it.
I believe Sequeira also did the same in race 1.
In Portimao, yes. In comes Dinardo, just as the virtual energy hit 0% then. So that happened, I think, after he entered the pit lane entry. So luckily that should be a glitch on the graphics. I think that's the same no matter what overlay you use, that sometimes it will show 0% even after they've refilled it after the pit stop. So it usually takes a lap to essentially correct itself. But yeah, Marco Rosini here, trying to keep Manuel Norris in sight then. And again, the Coloni Racing Lexus is in a pretty decent position here, especially although they are still behind Ricciardello, having served his drive-through for presumably track limits. Here comes Dinardo out of the pits, right behind Abel Sequeira.
He touched the white line. I wonder if that actually counts as a penalty, because the game automatically dishes out a penalty if you touch the white line.
That might have been what happened to Ricciardello as well.
I could be, you know.
It was very close. We'll have to see. I'm just looking at a replay of it now. But yeah, Dinardo, either way, very close behind Abel Sequeira. This is a brilliant strategy regardless. And yeah, he just touched the line. He didn't go over it though. So hopefully Stefano Dinardo, for at least for his sake, if nothing else, should be okay then. So DC Racing, I think should be able to breathe a sigh of relief after that one. But either way, the Aston, we've been going on about the Lexus being an effective package in this race, but really it's the Aston that suddenly, in the case of Vianney, always been up front, and Dinardo has been kind of the dark horse in this race that's got himself back into contention. Yeah,
from my attempts at driving these cars, there used to be an event that the Le Mans Ultimate did officially, right, at Qatar. And I tested a lot of cars, and in fact, the Aston was definitely one of the fastest.
Yeah, but meanwhile, No such Astons available to these two. Milanese fighting her way to the back of Armando Ortenzi. She's seen her teammate dispense of Imp. Can the number 17 Sim from Esports Pink Lexus do likewise as well? She's gearing up to the back of the BMW. Tries to swerve to the inside quite early. That was a little bit like the move Max Verstappen tried on Lando Norris in the sprint race last weekend, wasn't it? Where he sort of tried to just move around in the wing mirrors up the inside into turn one, but wasn't really close enough in either case to put the moves on the Virtual Drivers Alliance car in front of her. You can see, I think Alaria Finn is 9.6 points, so that is one of the leaders, I think, coming through to lap them. That might be Palumbo or Rabiti, I think, that's right behind Milanese. So that could be frustrating. Right, she's caught up to the back of Ortenzi. They're both about to be lapped here by one of the podium runners as Milanese dives up the inside into turn 6 and muscles her way through. Well, no shyness there. And Ortenzi is getting a bit sick of these Symphony Sports pink cars, isn't he? Because they seem to just be giving him a load of trouble. As now, that is our second place driver, Palumbo, being seriously held up by the pair of them. So the Symphony Sports are going to employ a bit of team orders here to get Milanese out the way.
Very, very respectable job here by all the Simframe Esports Pink Brigade, you know, you can call her.
Yeah, good to see them all still running, because they've had a bit of
exactly. But
finishing records
also,
not been great.
They're also being shown on broadcast, which is usually a good thing, unless you're facing the wrong way.
True.
Which unfortunately has happened. Yeah.
A little bit less often than we'd expect, though. So they've definitely been in fights legitimately for position.
Yeah, but there you go. I talk nicely about them, and it looked like I made a small mistake there.
She was trying to get out the way of Palumbo, though. So it was kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And now here comes Rabiti, a second behind Palumbo, looking for a similar treatment, I think, out of the final corner.
Yeah, there you go. She should probably move over now. Well, I mean, not she should. Because technically, I believe blue flags don't really warn you from moving out of the way. You can just not defend, basically.
Yeah, now the Milanese will have a great chance here if she gets right to the outside to make sure Rabiti has enough room to make it through. But the thing is here, once they catch up to Ortenzi and lap him, if she can stay right behind Simone Rabiti, she might have a chance of being able to take advantage and get up to 14th position here. But she'll need to make sure that she really pushes to be able to do that there. And you know, Ortenzi can sort of see this coming here, that Simframe will start to work against him here. They got 3 cars here on the road that they can use to their advantage, whereas he's just got the 1 VDA.
Yeah, we should also like stick to this fight, because not only it's a fight for P2, even though technically they're in 2 different championships, because obviously Palumbo is in Division 2 and Rabit is in Division 1, but it will also be interesting to see how they dispatch the BMW of Ortenzi.
Yeah, indeed. And you can see here, Rabiti more concerned with fighting his teammate Palumbo here as he goes to the outside out of turn 10, gets forced onto the curb there. So Palumbo is not doing him any favors whatsoever. As you can see, Milanese just struggling to keep up with the duo here. And Ortenzi waiting until the last minute to obey blue flags here, I think. And he's going to have to let him through both in quick succession here because they are right together. And in fact, all of them are going to have to get out of the way for, I think, Brewski, who is catching up in the background. Once again, Rabiti goes the long way round through turn 15. That's a bold move. He can pull it off. Oh, he gets tapped around and almost spins into the wall there. And, oh dear, that has very much come to grief. Can Rabiti get going again before Abel Secrera arrives on the scene? Secrera is certainly going to be a lot closer, though. And, yeah, Rabiti still in third position, but that was a costly spin. It was bold to go around the outside, but there wasn't quite enough room there. And that's a controversial collision between the 2 sim frames.
Yeah, the camera shot didn't really help. We saw the 2 cars going side by side. I think Rabiti was slightly pushed off. And but I wouldn't, again, we're seeing so many spins from these GT3s, although, of course, helped. It's still strange. I don't know how you could lose the car like that. Maybe he just went into the gravel and that gravel itself unsettled the car and just spun the Lexus. It's very, very strange crash again.
That's the second race in a row that Simone Rabiti's been spun around out of a podium position as well.
Yeah, he was spun twice in Silverstone as well.
He was, yeah. So hopefully Palumbo. I think the graphic is showing. Has Rabidi slowed down? So no, is Palumbo slowed down to let Rabidi through there? I'm a bit confused there.
It might be. It might be.
I think that's what's happened there, because yeah, the gap to Vianney's ballooned out to 32 seconds all of a sudden. So interesting move, if so, there. But yeah, good to see some team sportsmanship there. I think Palumbo, very apologetic, is my reading of that.
Well, so there you go. We know who was at fault.
Well, he certainly thinks he was, and it's also not worth falling out with the team over that one, that's for sure.
True.
There's all a bit of a move further back was that Ricciardiello fighting away with D'Amico for P6 then, so the BMW fighting against the Lexus for 6th position in GT3, and Ricciardiello finally does get through, so that's a couple of seconds further back from this particular fight. So now second place is effectively closed in on everybody else essentially because of that decision of Palumbo to slow down and to sort of resume the fight as they were, or as they would have been, so to speak, if Rabidi had completed the move. There's Manuel Norris now, fending off D'Amico behind him, having seen Ricciardiello breeze through. So Norris on the defensive here and very much on the back foot at this phase of the race then. Through goes Rocon there to put another lap on them. But Manuel Norris is not about to let Ricciardiello, who had to serve a drive-through penalty early in the race, escape from his grasp. Then they go right towards the pit wall, snake across the track there, as that is very much a defensive posture from Alessandro Ricciardiello, the winner of the race in Silverstone. But fighting for P6 here, trying to hold on to 6th position here is Manuel Norris. Starting to put the pressure on. Look at the brakes glowing orange through turn 1, and Ricciardiello shuts the door on the entry to turn 2 there. And this will be great news then for D'Amico behind them, who is trying to get back on terms in his BMW here. So yeah, the Lexus using its better tires to get through. But look at this, Manuel Norris going around the outside at 4 and 5. That is bold there from the Italian. Can he pull this one off? Mike Bell is right behind them as well. Oh, a little bit of contact there. And there, Manuel Norris is back through up the inside. And also diving in comes Luca D'Amico too. So that did not really work out. We're in a very compromised race from Ricciardiello.
What a move by Norris. Wow.
Yeah, some
Really
guts to stay with that one around the outside there.
He looks like he physically moved the Lexus out of the way. He just give him a little bit of a bump on the exit, which unsettled the Lexus, and then all he had to do was just send it on the inside into turn, I believe it's 4.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it's all been kicking off in this fight for third in Hypercar. 9 minutes to go, and Penipede is up the inside of Bortolin. So Penipede's really fought back, and Bortolin, late on the brakes into turn 1, but he's on the outside. He's really starting to struggle in that Ferrari at this phase then. And in all of this, Brewski is now 13 seconds ahead of them, having just kept it clean in this since the pit stop, essentially.
Well, we just want to see another fight. So come on, come on, Paolo. Push.
Yeah, there we go. He's certainly got the pace there. 12.8 seconds is the gap then, with 8 minutes to go. It's certainly going to have to be quite the charge for the BMW to get its first podium of the season in the hands of Penipede, at least, as Ricciardiello.
Sekira also, he looked like he was actually gaining a lot. Of course, what happened between Rabiti and Palumbo was pretty clear, with Palumbo letting Rabiti through, thinking he was at fault. But the gap between Palumbo and Sekira has not come down, which I think obviously it is a strategic blunder from Sekira. It must be, because why would you put pit so early and give up the a shorter pit stop for free, basically? But also, he will not even get P3 this well, technically it is P2 in Division 1, but yeah.
And that's considering that both the Lexus sim frames of Rabidi and Palumbo have spun each other around and come to a dead stop on track. And still Sekira is going to be about 3.8 seconds behind them. So even if he's got his tyres in better condition, despite pitting significantly earlier because of that spin, he's sort of in a tricky position here in terms of, again, he's going to miss out on the overall podium after a tough round at Silverstone. So yeah, Sekira, he's not going to see Zitello close in because Zitello's had an awful race, all things considered. He's well outside of the top 13, I think. He must have had to serve a penalty at some point after the pit stop then. So yeah, it's really not worked out for him then. But for Ricciardiello, it's still a chance to get past Manuel Norris. These two, Norris's Division 1 and Riccardiello is second in Division 2, trying to limit the damage to that Vianney can do to him here. But yeah, at the moment, Rabiti, I think, is looking to take second, not just in the race, but in the Division 2 class as well then.
I tell you who's really fast at the moment. It's well, not Riccardiello running off. It's Rabiti. Rabiti's putting together crazy fast laps. The gap when he was let through by Palumbo was 32 seconds from Vianney, and now it's 27.
Yeah, they were about 13 behind before they crashed into each other, weren't they? So that really shows you that the gap's doubled because of all those shenanigans. But yeah,
the gap is actually coming down 1 second a lap. Of course, we don't have 26 laps left.
Ricciardiello almost nibbling the inside of Manuel Norris in the number 90 BMW ahead of him there. So yeah, Norris sort of keeps leaving the door open. Of course, he pit and came out just ahead of Sakura and then was very quickly dispatched and was then jumped by Dinardo as well. So Stefano Dinardo, I think, has avoided penalty and is running in a very comfortable P5 there. I think the virtual energy is slightly misleading there because it seems to be stuck from just as they pit there rather than showing their live standings. I think Sakura on 24 is the only one that's actually accurate there. Maybe Pagani on 28 as well. Let's look at this Ricciardiello. Very, very desperate, intent and keen to get back into that sixth position, at least save a bit of pride in these final 5 minutes of nothing else. There's Dinardo, the DC Racing team, looking to get his best result of the season so far, that's for certain. But a lot of pressure on the back of Manuel Norris as well, who has had a pretty decent run so far, despite dropping back in this second part of the race. But him and Ricciardiello pretty evenly matched at this phase. Meanwhile, in Hypercar, Margera leads by 14 seconds over Rokon. Rokon's had a much better showing, I think, than the last couple.
Disappointed by Margera. Yeah, not besting his gap from Silverstone. Yeah.
It was always going to be a bit of a big ask because Ricciardiello almost gets stuck on the curb there, running as wide as he can to try and keep the pressure on Norris in front of him here, but he can sense that he's running out of time here.
It has to be said, this is a very difficult track to overtake. Obviously, we're in the same class, but even when you're not. And as a hypercar, it's so easy to get stuck behind the GT3. It's like Imola, right? Where it's so often that you find yourself stuck behind the GT3 going into a chicane, and because they take it with, like, I don't know, 2 working days slower than you do, it's just it's absolutely painful.
Yeah, because it's quite a fast circuit overall, but there's only really 2 kind of half hairpins essentially at 6 and 10 that you can maybe make a dive in if you're close enough. Otherwise, it really is just sort of nailing the run out of turn 16 and maybe getting alongside into turn 1. But
what makes a good track for overtaking is definitely long straights and slow corners right after those long straights. Anything else, for example, like all of these high-load corners that we have in the third sector here, Qatar, it just doesn't favor overtaking. It's I guess this is the crux of this track, that will never probably provide the best racing possible. Although, I mean, today we've had pretty good racing, I have to say.
Yeah, certainly. The standard is always a bit different at Qatar, isn't it? It's mainly a sort of it's a strategy track where you sort of got to stay out of trouble. Imola is a little bit similar in that respect, except there are a few tighter chicanes. And it's a much narrower circuit as well. So there's whenever the hypercars come through the lap GT3s, it's always a stomach tightening moment at Imola. Less so at Qatar. But yeah, Spa next week will be really, really interesting because that should be not only another classic circuit where more variable weather, much like Silverstone, but also plenty of overtaking opportunities down the Camel Straight into Lecombe. I've even seen a couple of moves into Pouhon pulled off in the hypercar class, which is quite exciting as well.
I don't want to spoil it, right? But with Spa, I think what we're going to see is that because the race will be longer, the race will be 105 minutes, which is 1 hour and 45. Basically, what we're going to get with that is that people will definitely need to change tires. And the
pit strategy
really cold,
will become much more of a factor in a longer race like that as well.
Yeah, because if the temperatures will be really, really cold, right? You will have to come out the pits on super cold tires, especially the hypercars will be interesting, and you will have to. Oh, as yellow almost. sends it.
He,
on
he
Norris.
committed to the inside at turn 2 quite early there, but he never really had the overlap for that one to ever be on. But they are both starting to catch Dinardo in front of them for 5th position here. So the Aston Martin pits slightly earlier than these two, didn't it? If I'm not mistaken. So could be in a bit of trouble here if he's used a bit more of his
actually
tires.
went
Later. No, he did later. You're right.
As
You're right.
long as longer than everyone. Yeah.
He was the last to pit. You're absolutely right there. So he's just genuinely struggling, maybe. Maybe he didn't put a lot of virtual energy in. I don't know. Impossible to tell with it acting up on the overlay. But nonetheless, that's not really anybody's fault. So we can't really rage at Luis for that one. Not that we would anyway. As Ricciardo.
Well, let's say that working with the game sometimes is a bit like jumping into fire hoops.
It's a game in progress, even after release. So on Ultimate.
We'll
So
keep on being that.
here comes Brewski, still in a podium position, but look at the gap to Pede, only 5.7 seconds, but there's only a minute left on the clock. If Brewski can keep it clean, that's going to be a second podium in a row. Oh, that was a bit wide there from, I think, Manuel Norris. And Ricciardo is side by side then as they go into turn 15, but Malguera, I think, is close to starting the final lap then. There is Manuel Norris, and Ricciardo did not actually get through.
I know. And I'm sorry. I think he flashed in the tower just being a P6, Ricciardo.
I think Ricciardo, the problem was that was the fastest part of the track, and they're being lapped by Pede, who is really annoyed about being held up there at the final corner. And Malguera has indeed started the final lap. Luckily, unlike Silverstone, there's not a decoy start-finish here, so I should be able to call the finish correctly this time.
Yeah, there you go. He starts the final lap. We don't... No, there you go. Because I think the finish line is actually further back than it should be. As yeah, Malguera, again, I told you before, very disappointing. Only 15 seconds ahead of Rocon. Like, he definitely didn't practice this track for sure.
But still, yeah. In fact, losing a bit of time there. Rocon actually puts in a good lap there, gets the gap down to just under 14 seconds then. So yeah, Michele Rocon, full credit to him. Part of the reason he stayed in this championship is because of the double points final round. But also, look at this, Brewski slowing down right at the end. Is he out of fuel maybe? Through goes Pede into third. And that's absolute heartbreak there for Francesco Brewski.
I mean, he's slowing down so much now. How again? Usually it's been Pede completely missing the amount of fuel.
Bortolin is 34 seconds in arrears. That should have been caught by Suave at the moment. So he too has hit issues. You can see minimal throttle for Brewski. He is nursing it home there. But I think Malguera is about to complete the race then. So he's very, very close to the finish line. But Brewski sort of just got to hold on. There's Malguera. I think actually he's about to put a lap on Brewski because of this late drama here. Suave only a second behind Bortolin in the fight for P5, but here comes Malguera.
Brewski's actually slowing down to let Malguera through.
So he doesn't have to do another lap. Yeah,
exactly.
So there we go. Just miscalculated the fuel there. And Pede's out as well. Oh, here we go. Malguera to the line. So he is going to win. Pede will just, I think, hold on to P3 there from Brewski, who almost sort of accelerated the line. Got excited when he saw the BMW slowing down there. I think that was just Pede. He couldn't do another lap either. But there we go. Malguera then is now within an ace of winning this championship with one round left to go. There is Nico Viani trying to put a lap on the last couple of GD3s, I believe. Is that Katrina Edmonds just in front of him there?
Yeah, honestly,
I think it is.
It's not really possible to tell, but Vianney, his gap. Look at the gap, 14 seconds. So either something happened, or he just lost pace completely.
Could be just taking it easy on the last lap here.
Yeah, but 10 seconds is a lot.
Well, I mean, we saw Rabiti and Palumbo lose more than 10 seconds fighting each other. So, yeah, I think if Vianney's genuinely got an issue, they're going to be kicking themselves because Rabiti would probably be right behind. And off track goes the Symphony Sports pink card. That's a number 17. That's Ilaria Finn, sorry. No, it is Edmonds in 12th there. So they both are, Finn and Edmonds are both number 12. And a bit of a barging with the race leader there as Vianney almost doesn't want to lap Edmonds. And is that Hortensi steaming through at the final corner, trying to steal 12th off of Katrina Edmonds.
I think the BMW spun, but yeah, you take it away with Vianney. No, they didn't.
across the line then, Nico Viani takes his second win of the season after also triumphing in Bahrain, and he's in a strong position now in Division 2 with Riccardiello down in P7. Oh, a spin for Rabiti as well, as he's collided with one of the Sinfer Esports pink cars as well. So Rabiti, frustrated at the end, feels maybe that was one that got away from him there, really, because there was the spin, having made contact with Palumbo, and the issue for Viani in the last couple of laps there meant that there was potentially a win left begging there.
Yeah, towards the end, he definitely gained a lot of time, but for sure the pace of Viani in the final, in the initial phases of the race was just unmatchable, and he did the best he could.
So then, here's your final finishing order.
Or maybe not.
And it is blank. So we'll just have to remember where everyone finished, ladies and gents. So, okay. Well, I can tell you without any screen at all, I can tell you that Cristian Marguera takes his 5th win in a row, his 5th victory of the season with just a double points round in Spa left to go. So his gap in the championship is he's gone from 23 points ahead to 27 ahead. So it's looking strong for him. Cristian Marguera really does just have to bring it home. Michele Rocon under 15 seconds behind, so I think his strongest result of the season so far in terms of the gap to Marguera. Then in 3rd position, by the skin of his teeth, Paolo Pedimpere takes his first podium of the year, which is fantastic to see from the number 42. At a track he absolutely despises, fortune favoured him there with that heartbreaking finish for poor Francesco Bruschi. So you may not be able to see the final results, but just listen to my voice and pretend you can see them. Behind Bruschi was, I think, who was it that held on there at the end there? I'm trying to remember. It was Bortolin, yes, who just held off Suave. And then I think Mike Bell takes his first finish of the season in P8 as well. So, yeah, a good fight with Suave, but Mike Bell not quite able to come out on top on this again. Suave was just that little bit too strong, nearly stole P6 as well. And then in GD3 standings, it is Nico Viani that takes victory from the 2 sim frames of, it was Rabiti and then Palumbo. There we go, don't want to get that mixed up. Abel Sequeira was P4. P5 was the Aston Martin of Stefano Dinardo. Just behind him was, I think, Manuel Norris and the guy that got the penalty, wasn't it? Riccardiello. There we go. Then I don't remember the rest of the GD3 order.
Well, that was still impressive, you know.
Yeah, and an honourable shout out as well to our debutants. Was it Ditello? Was his name? Ditullo. There.
I don't think he was a debutant. I think he actually did some racing before.
But he finished, I think, just inside the top 10 or P11, and just behind him was Katrina Edmonds in her first ever appearance, P12. So that's an exceptional performance from a Sinfer Esports Pink and a driver we could well be talking about in the future. As there we go, Louis Gaspar, I think, has just sent me the results here, so I can actually tell you what the GD3 results were. Behind Stefano Donato and Manuel Norris, it was indeed Alessandro Riccardiello. Luca D'Amico was 16th overall, and I think P8 in class. In 9th in class was Marco Lodi Rosini. Nicola Pagani rounded out the top 10. Then it was Andrea Gandosi, 11. Katrina Alexandra, so she seems to have a different name to Edmonds in the result sheet. We'll just call her Katrina Edmonds because that's what the announcement said. She takes 12 in class in the Lexus ahead of Eugenio Ditullo, he was in 13th right behind her. Behind Ditullo in 14th is Armando Ortenzi. Lucrezia Milanese is 15th. Salvador Zitello 16th. Terrible day for Zitello. I don't know what happened to him, but he's 2 laps down. Ilaria Finn was 17th. Frank van Ginniken 18th. Also a terrible day for the Mercedes. Salvatore Pastor sadly did not finish the race. He is classified 19th. And then Garbaglia also well down the order. She is classed in 28th. So a day to forget, I think, for both of them with Pastore. And then, and also we had Pastorino who retired with the disconnection as well.
No, I think he actually finished the race.
Oh, he did? Okay. The screenshot I've seen doesn't go down that far. So there we go. But I think that's pretty much everything then. So one more to go, Daniele. And it's really been an entertaining EES season. Obviously, the win was never really in doubt in either class here, but the fight for second downwards was pretty entertaining, especially in GD3.
Yep, GT3s usually give us the best excitement, but we've also seen some really nice fights in the hypercars as well. I mean, the track probably not the greatest, but definitely did deliver.
Absolutely. Well, that's the end of round 5 from Qatar. Join us at the same time next week for the season finale, which will be an extra 15 minutes longer, I guess, at Spa-Francorchamps, the historic Spa-Francorchamps circuit in the Ardennes forests of Belgium. Definitely looking forward to that. But anyway, I've been Edward Hunter, joined by my brilliant co-commentator Daniele Brambilla, and our league owner, broadcast director Mariano Callo, and our overlay creator and race director, I believe, Luis Gaspar as well. So brilliant job by everybody at EES. Only one more round to go, and we are going to find out who is going to be the champion of season 2 of EEC. Thank you very much for watching, and good night.
See ya.